Sheriff Ronfield.
Present.
Commissioner Resignation.
Yes.
Commissioner Salvatore.
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
Controller Rama. Here. DA Cummings.
He had a lead from motions court.
You all stand, please. If you all join me to say the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody has a copy of the agenda of the previous readings of the law.
Before we begin, Sheriff, I would just like to raise a subject that occurred yesterday. I was notified yesterday, I don't know, roughly sometime between 11 and 1, that there was a discussion being held at the warden's office regarding complaints that were being filed by COs. In the room, there was Patty Yager, Lambrosini, Commissioner Lambrosini, Susie Miller with the Herald Standard, Warden Miller. I just spoke with a member of the union, and he declined any knowledge of any complaints that were being filed or any concerns that were being filed. And customarily, as you know, with proper protocol, traditionally, a complaint would go from a CO to a member of the union, either a steward or someone up there up higher. That's why I just asked Ms. Yager if Ms. Kelly was here, because she was the impetus of the article. That seems not to be the case if there was such a concerted effort regarding CO complaints. Those complaints, I guess, were addressed overnight. I still would like to follow through with those if my two warden stewards, if you may, sir.
I have one question. What kind of complaints are you?
I have no idea. I was not
I
privileged.
mean, we have issues regarding, like, the things that happen here. There are issues here that we have.
Have you provided to the media did you provide them to the media? Did you provide them to the media?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the question lies, somebody did. Okay, please continue. I apologize.
Item number 5, approval of meeting minutes from the August meeting. Need a motion? Motion. Need a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Item number 6, public comment on agenda item. Would you wish to state your name?
My name is Charles Whitman. I am from Uniontown. I read a post last night on Commissioner Ambasini's Facebook page. It was put in a CO who wrote, "Who's in fear for his life." It stated that an inmate spat at the guard in this guard's face while the CO was supervising a meal serving in the RHU. I don't know why and what would have provoked the inmate to do this, but it's because the CO did or said something to cause it. I was locked up in here in SCP for 10 months and a day. I heard a lot. I know most of the COs think they're better than the inmates, and some actually tell them that. Like anyone, we all understand, but it's a two-way street. You gotta give to receive. And about this, in fear for his life, what about the inmates? Some are made to sleep on cold steel, without mats, black mold in the basement set, in the holding cells. It's stated that a new prison will no longer have bars, but steel doors. Well, I've been in Bedford County and Greene County. They have the steel doors. Now, to me, I think when the COs come on the block, or the dorms as they call them over there are no bars between inmates and the COs. Now, you got problems, they got problems with inmates in here,
Prison board meeting.
that they got inmates who they're scared for their life here. They get an open bay. There's no hold bar. They walk in, they can get jumped quick by how many inmates on a block. Now, up here, you got all the bars around bars. You got a catwalk around bars and another set of bars for all the inmates. That's the safest thing you could ever be up in here. If they ever went up to another place and went to them and see what they are like that, they wouldn't be saying how dangerous it is here. And also, I went on to another page, a guard, I read a post on Bob Yacko Facebook page. It stated to ask if anybody wanted to come and sit an 8-hour shift with him, but no one was taken up on it. No one came and said, I'll do it. I never heard of it. I never heard that out there in the public. No one ever came out to the public and said, us, the prison guards at Fayette County Prison, would like any civilians who are against this new prison to come sit with us for 8 hours, a shift with us, and we'll show you what it's like here. I've never seen that. I never heard that. Also, and is that offer still open? That anybody, all the civilians or taxpayers to come on here to do it? What? Also, another thing, they're worried about their families, bringing home diseases to their families and friends and neighborhoods and the community. What about the inmates in here? When they leave here, they have the same diseases and everything here that the guards are worried about. Where's the safety for this community then? What treatment are the inmates getting to make sure they're not diseased and have deadly diseases to go out to the community, to their family, to their kids, to their community? Any answers? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. My name is Catherine Jones. I am not, I think, first of all, it might be a good idea to clear up a little misconception. My activity is not designed to stop this community from building a new facility. My participation in this is to stop this gross mismanagement team from moving on to a new facility. This prison is deliberately and with malice overcrowded with nonviolent, victimless criminals who, for all intents and purposes, are basically here because they're poor. If they could afford an attorney like Gus Palmer, they wouldn't be here. Now, based on a scatter plot of inmates over the last, from January 1st of 2014 to August 19th of 2014, 10% of the population had neither victim nor violence. We're talking about, and there's absolutely no reason for taxpayers to be paying to house these types of inmates. Knock 10% off the top of your numbers, and you're right back down to capacity. And there are, if the day reporting center were operational as it is supposed to have been, if the Veterans Court were operational as it is supposed to have been, it is possible to take out another 25 to 30% of the inmates without endangering the community in general or the stability of the community. the mandatory minimums, there have been arguments, successful arguments made that mandatory minimums are unconstitutional. And the unbelievable prevalence, of DUI cases suggests that there is very limited criminality within the prison population. Jack Hennix is not here at this point to let us know, and DUI happens to be the top charge within this facility. We don't know how many of those are actual DUIs. We don't know how many of them are administrative DUIs. But again, I do believe that the evidence exists to indicate that this prison is being overcrowded intentionally, and that in order to force a new facility onto taxpayers, there is no excuse for the filth. Filth is something that can be taken care of by any CO, any inmate, any working inmate. Anybody can take care of this filth. There's no excuse for the filth in this building. There's no excuse for the mold in this building. It is an absolute gross mismanagement from Miller to Ambrosini to, and I hate to say it, Vince, to Zapatoski to Zimmerling. It is, sorry, Brownfield. It is a failure across the board to lead. You gentlemen have no business playing with a $40 million prison. You want us to give you keys to a new car after you've totaled the last one. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen without a fight.
And all due respect, and I don't mean to debate you here, there's a difference between a new car, a used car, and a car that was designed by Horse and Wagon. And the one that we're sitting in here was designed by Horse and Wagon.
This thing will stand longer than the new one you're going to build.
Well, I'm just saying that there are certain components that come into play that you could only put a dress on a pig so long, and eventually, you're going to see the pig.
You thin out the population.
Well, I'm not.
If your public defenders and your district attorneys follow the
disputing-
law.
I'm not disputing the ways of dispositioning cases. I'm not disputing that at all.
Then overcrowding is not an issue here.
I'm just saying that we definitely have a problem with the fact that we are in a chaplain. Would you by any means define this as a chaplain?
I've been in this room as a chaplain.
It's a brick building. This is not a place of what we would consider traditional worship. Any place is a place of worship.
You're right. The holding cell upstairs is a place of worship.
But what I mean is, by virtue of just this alone, our kitchen facility, if you've ever seen it, and I would be more than welcome to show it to you, is not a place where meals are prepared in a manner in which you would prepare meals for your family.
I've eaten meals inside this jail, Vince. There's no preparation involved. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Hennix left. I do have several things to discuss regarding Jack Hennix. In November of 2011, a young man by the name of Parrish George was struck and killed by a drunk driver. The drunk driver walked away. In 2011, Hennix refused to refile charges against a gentleman by the name of Robert Rudnick, guilty of DUI with property damage. We now have a DUI with a death and a DUI with property damage that Jack Hennix refused to prosecute. And yet we have a jail full of young men found guilty of administrative DUIs. An administrative DUI is a DUI where no actual impairment has been taken place, but a subsequent blood test shows levels of THC that we all know can last from anywhere from 30 days to 6 weeks. You have, I would guess, and this is a guess, I can clear out a dozen more young men who couldn't afford attorneys, who are guilty of nothing but being in the wrong place at the wrong time and having a police officer decide to take them in and test their blood. So we can clear out, we can bring this building under capacity today if every last one of us would insist that the district attorney's office deal with these people in a fair and equitable manner. In November of 2013, I sat in this very room. I have watched, Jack Hennix is guilty of driving under the influence of alcohol more than one time. I've watched it. I've seen it more than a dozen times. He does not have the moral authority to prosecute driving under the influence cases.
And Ms. Jones, with no disrespect, Mr. Hennix is not here.
He should have stayed.
He's not here to defend himself.
It's not the first time I've said it, and I've said it to his face.
I realize that, ma'am.
But I will take care of business today. I'm sorry he had to leave. I would have loved it had he been here. But the fact of the matter is, this mess here is intentional. Absolutely intentional. Poor management. Who knows what your is? You guys, I know there's good guards. I know you guys have good guards. But as long as you let one operate in this facility, in the manner in which they operate, torturing prisoners, instigating fights, putting bounties on inmates' heads, you guys can stop that. You can, and if you don't deserve a new facility. Period. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Anybody else? Public item number 7.
But before we move on, again, I'm still dumbfounded at the press conference that was held yesterday. It was held based on Susie Kelly receiving numerous complaints from COs, when I've clearly addressed the 2 COs that that are in charge of receiving complaints.
Well, we're not, there's other officers.
Other officers.
Yeah, there's other officers that can receive complaints, but they're not present.
But I'm just
Corrections
dumbfounded.
officers are being stonewalled.
I'm just dumbfounded that there's no further advancement at that outside of what was explained yesterday. If anybody has anything further to advance that particular issue, I would appreciate if they would do so.
If there was a press conference, I can assure you that not all the officers were informed. I know I myself wasn't informed. I know Officer Bennett wasn't informed. If there were some that took place, they obviously were informed by certain individuals. So I mean, I can speak on behalf of myself and Officer Bennett that we would never.
Well, I'm gonna reach out to Miss Kelly and find out how that transpired, because there was a list of, rolled up list of, it seemed to be 5 or 6 pages, and I think it warrants at least follow up if there were complaints.
And I just have one quick question.
Sure, Shalom.
This is for Dominic. My name's Kevin Locke. And Dom, last month at the prison board meeting, we brought it to your attention that there are 5 full-time officer positions that were never filled. Now, you stated that you had to do some type of study. I don't know what type of study there is to do. Have you finished that study that you're going to fill the 5 full-time officer positions, or?
I'm in the process of analyzing
The study?
the figures, part-time costs.
But these are 5 positions that the officers either resigned, they got promoted, and they were just never filled. So, I mean, there's nothing to analyze, to study. We're
Well,
asking
those 5 positions were not budgeted for this year.
but they've been budgeted every single year.
Okay, but they weren't in 2014. Or was it 13 where the lieutenant positions were increased? And some other positions were budgeted. But you do have the required 43 bids. Those positions are being filled. Yes.
No, the lieutenant's positions were not.
Yeah, you got 2 lieutenants who are on a full-time basis, and they never got filled. That was in 2013.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 2013, since 5 positions.
Well, I mean, it's probably been beyond 2013. We had,
We've had people drop out a little here and there, we're probably lagging a little bit there.
Yeah, I would say that, the 43 required bid positions are budgeted for and as soon as possible. And there, 43.
I mean, budget-wise,
Any additional on top of that,
budget-wise, they've been,
not that
I mean, budget-wise, you're spending money no matter what you do, because
it's going way over.
most of the part-timers are getting 5 days anyway. But, you know, if you have a flat 40, like, making more one shift all week, they're not getting short shifts, they're not getting overtime, being double, things like that. I mean, I don't see how we're asking for a lot here.
Yeah, we're just asking
Well, that
Yeah.
would, if I may, that would fall under a personnel matter, I think. Are we at that line item?
No,
Okay, I'm sorry.
sorry,
Bring
man.
stuff up.
Okay.
we're gonna move on to population report. Let's see. Approve what, let me back up. Is there anything else standing on the bill? Anybody have any questions about the bills? Any motion to approve making bills? Motion. Have a motion, need a second. Need a second. Any questions in discussion? If not, so moved. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Population report.
Currently, we have 197 males in-house,
197 male,
39 females in-house,
39 female, grand total, please.
236 in-house.
In-house, Reynolds,
We have 28 in Greene County,
male,
male, and 19 in Bedford County, male.
48, 47,
47.
that's all male, correct?
That's correct.
No female, Reynolds at this time.
Anybody has questions on population report? All right, do we have anybody from the court administrator's office?
And the one thing that if I may, Cody, Catherine, the one item that you brought up was the disposition of cases. And that would primarily fall within the court administrator and the public defender's office, because they would coincide with indigent care, indigent displacement of inmates. It would not necessarily fall within the purview of this board outside of acknowledging payment for said indigent care. So I just wanted to let you know that there are a couple of hats that are worn by this body, one of which would have been the DA. At one time, we did have a presiding judge sit on this board that was taken away from us by Judge Capuzzi some 6 years ago. Would you not guesstimate, Sheriff? Is that fair? So some of this falls within that particular aspect. And I'll tell you, I'll explain it to you later, like modifications of sentences, etc.
Any response right now would be irresponsible on my part, so I'll just let it go.
Item number 10, personnel.
One item is to accept the ratify the resignation of full-time corrections officer Kristen Jacobs effective September 2nd.
I have an item as well that I think this board needs to be brought to this board's attention, as well as another item, whether or not action is going to be taken, I don't know.
Need a motion to accept the resignation. I'll make the motion, I need a second. Second. I have a second by Commissioner Resignation. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain. Hold on, let me turn it up again. Let me try to get it up as high as I can get it. Can you hear me now? There was a motion made to accept the resignation of Crystal Jacobs. It passed 3. Hold on, let me get you on speaker. I got you on speaker. Now I got you. Now, thank you.
Commissioner, we have a motion on the floor to accept the resignation of one Crystal Jacobs. I made the motion, a second by Commissioner Resignation. We had a vote. I could not hear your vote. So moved. Anything else on the first?
That's all I have.
I have matters that I'm sure.
You have the floor
Well, I'd like to make a motion to go to executive session.
for possible disciplinary action.
Possible disciplinary action.
I have a motion to go into executive session. Need a second?
I'll second.